Coming up on Race Week, open wheel excitement for Blast-Off 1989, the season opener at the London Waterford Speed Bowl. Plus a look at the act. Is well underway, and the London Waterford Speed Bowl is about to open up with the first event of the 1989 season. Blast-Off is about to occur here at the Third Mile facility in New London, Waterford, Connecticut. But that's not the only story on this edition of Race Week. We'll be taking a look at great racing action in the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour for the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. We'll also be taking a look at two major events to be run in the state of Maine. From the Oxford Plains Speedway, a look at the Busch Grand National North Circuit, plus a look at the Axe Course Tour from Scarborough, Maine. Combine that with a look at Saturday night competition at Riverside Park Speedway, and you've got the setting for this edition of Race Week. But right now, the racing action begins right here at the New London Waterford Speed Bowl for Blast-Off 1989. The best in open-wheel modified competition was assembled in the pit area. This was the first event of 1989, and the cars were all ready for the competition. Don Bonnell, one of the local favorites, had brought out a brand-new #1. But that wasn't the only story being told in the pit area. Bob Potter, the 1988 Stafford Motor Speedway Winston Racing Series champion, would take over defending Waterford track champion car from Dickie Saravello. Potter would drive car number 31 for 1989. And Teddy Christopher would be starting right up front in the competition, driving the number 54, the North End Auto Parts machine. Blast-Off 89 was about to go to green as the field was ready in rows of 2. It was Ted Christopher on the inside. To the outside of him, it was Bob Fletcher as they came down and looked for the green. Christopher quickly jumped into the #1 spot, but already the plot was starting to thicken among the top 10 cars. Bob Potter was down low as John Anderson would come to the outside, as Ron Rocco had already worked his way among the top 4 cars. The challenge was already starting to develop. Anderson was looking strong when Ron Rocco would dive to the inside of Ricky Young. Rocco would get the bite off the turn, and he would pick up the spot, and John Anderson would follow through in hot pursuit. Suddenly, smoke would develop as David Gaines' car would start to smoke. Car number 27 would quickly drop off the pace. But back down the back straightaway, it was Ron Rocco to work his way to the back bumper of Teddy Christopher. On the outside, Fletcher would get a little bit out of shape with car 56. Anderson would tuck it down low. Jimmy Broderick had also moved in the challenge, but Teddy Christopher would lead him back to the line. But Ron Rocco was literally all over his back bumper. Single file was the story, but what a battle for the lead as Broderick would drop out of the event with a mechanical problem. Now Rocco would go to the outside. Christopher down low. With Christopher out of shape, he would spin to the bottom side of the racetrack. Donnie Bonnell would come in and make contact with car number 1 as Christopher and Bonnell would end their day. Ron Rocco would excite the fans. Car number 13 was back, the leader of the pack, and the fans loved it, anticipating the restart to come soon. But for Teddy Christopher, he'd take the 54 back towards the pit area. The story was suspension damage here. But back to green, it was Ron Rocco, challenged by Rick Young for position number 1. Then suddenly, Bob Potter would develop a problem. He would drop off the pace with car number 31. Mike Christopher was coming to the inside, and he was picking them off one at a time. But it was still Ron Rocco at the front of the field. Trouble now. Harry Rice gets a little bit out of shape and goes around with car number 10. The field madly scrambles for position as they come back to the line. The field is now under caution. Then suddenly, John Jensen makes contact with Dave Gaeta. Jensen's car was wrecked under caution. It was time to go back to green, and back up front, the new battle is for second. John Anderson was down low beneath Ricky Young, and he'd take over the number 2 spot with car number 89. But Ron Rocco was still the leader of the pack. Anderson was trying everything. He'd make a bid for it down low. Off turn number 4, he'd go around with the A&A number 89. This would bring out yet another caution, forcing Anderson to come from the back of the pack once again. They tightened things up again, and the competition would resume with Ricky Young challenging Larry Ross to the inside. Rocco stands on the throttle. He'll start to pull away. It was Ross who was coming to the front of the pack now with car number 64. He'd go to the outside and challenge as Ron Rocco would be pressured heavily by Ricky Young. But down to the wire, the story would be Ron Rocco for the victory. Ricky Young in for second. Larry Ross was third. Bob Fletcher was fourth. And Mark Lajeunesse was fifth.
Ronnie Rocco, quite a way to blast off the season here at the Waterford Speedbowl.
It was a good way to start, and, you know, the car felt good all day. It was a little rough in the beginning getting by the leaders, but the rest of the show ran good, and we just turned left with it.
Tires seemed to be very critical. You had a lot of pressure in the corner, but the car seemed to hold up very well.
Yeah, I thought when the sun went down it was going to go away, but it was good. The thing just went left and came out of the corner good, and the tires felt like they stayed right there.
Quite a battle in the middle laps with John Anderson. Were you worried at all?
No, I didn't see John coming up through the pack, and I knew when he got me, he was just going to try to rattle my cage, so I did what I had to do, and I raced with him before. It went all right.
You'll be back here to defend this at the next Waterford show.
Oh, yeah, we'll be back.
Who's this happy little guy?
This is my son, Keith. Say hello. Come here. Say hello. This is one of the owners.
Keith, say hello.
Wait.
A post-race disqualification on weight would then give the victory to Ricky Young. But then less than 12 hours later, the management would reverse the decision and give the victory back to a deserving Ron Rocco. The late model feature event would be up next, and Jay Stewart and Tommy Fox would make up row number 1. Second row on the inside, Ron Cody and Conrad Cody, and 3 rows back, it would be Ron Hoyle. As the field was under green, it was car number 66 to quickly jump out in front. Setting the pace was Jay Stewart, when suddenly Ricky Shaw would develop a problem with a push with car number 8X. He would drop off the pace to the outside lane. Larry Vassar stuck down low, and then he would spin to the bottom as Jim Lloyd would make contact. But back up front, Phil Rondo was coming on strong. He'd work his way down, but he'd Tommy Fox. Challenge in the turn, now Conrad Cody would try to make the move. Couldn't do it this time as Bob Skinger would go around in front of Jim Lloyd. The two would make contact, and Vassar would be involved again with Bob Skinger. But back at the front of the field, it was Ron Hoyle to go to the outside. Jay Stewart stuck in the middle. Here comes Rondo down low with car number 19. Hoyle was a brand new leader, but Stewart and Rondo were starting to work him over. Then Rondo would dive to the inside. Phil Rondo was now in command of the event with car number 19. Chuck Zantarski was coming on strong with the number 8. He was picking them off one at a time, but Rondo would secure the victory. Ronnie Hoyle in for second. Jay Stewart was third. Chuck Zantarski was fourth, and Ron Cody would round out the top 5. Blast Off 1989 was a huge success, and it looks like the 1989 season is well underway here at the Waterford Speedbowl. Well, next we're going to be taking a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at full-bodied racing at its absolute best, as the state of Maine will host 2 major events from this past weekend. A look at the Oxford Plains Speedway for the Busch Grand National North and the Axe Course Tour from Scarborough, Maine. All of that and more right after this.
Racing is more fun when you know the inside story. Stock Car Racing Magazine takes you behind the scenes. Action from super speedways to America's short tracks. Award-winning Stock Car Racing Magazine. Colorful, exciting stories by the men who build and drive the cars. Call 1-800-441-3636 for a full year at only $14.97. Get a free racing patch with your paid subscription. Order now. Have your credit card ready and call 1-800-441-3636. Stock Car Racing Magazine.
NASCAR, Tour-Type Modifieds, exotic ASA-type Pro Stock, action-packed late model streets, and the all-new Strictly Stock at New England's most successful quarter mile, the Riverside Park Speedway, Route 159 in Agawam, Mass. Each and every Saturday night, it's short track racing at its best at 6 o'clock, only at Riverside Park Speedway, where action is the attraction with 4 divisions of excitement each and every Saturday night. It's Riverside Park Speedway, Route 159, Agawam, Mass.
If you enjoy trout fishing like I do, then you should be a member of Trout Unlimited.
For just $20, you'll receive full membership credentials, including a Trout Unlimited membership card, window decal, a full-year subscription to Trout Magazine, and a full-year subscription to our newspaper. Each colorful issue of Trout Magazine is packed with tips from the best trout and salmon fishermen in the world. Our exclusive Fly Tires notebook and special features designed to help you be a better trout angler. To join Trout Unlimited and receive full membership privileges, just pick up your telephone.
Use your credit card and call 1-800-942-2300 now to join Trout Unlimited. When you join, you'll also receive this special pack of 3 hand-tied fishing flies, all proven to catch trout. That's 1-800-942-2300 for a full-year subscription to the award-winning Trout Magazine, Trout Action Line newspaper, full membership credentials, and the bonus flies. Call now 1-800-942-2300.
Welcome back to Race Week. Well, it's once again time to take a look at great racing action for the state of Maine. Now, 2 major events was run this past weekend. Both of the facilities are perhaps the most noted facilities in the state of Maine. The Oxford Plains Speedway running the Busch Grand National North, and the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway running the best of the Axe Course Tour. Let's go now and take a look at who did the best for the most excitement from the state of Maine, as Dan Wolf will file this report.
Mother Nature continues her assault on northern New England racing here today at Oxford Plains Speedway, with temperatures hovering in the mid-30s and a brisk wind for this, the Buick 100, the season's opener for the Busch Grand National North Series. Billy Clark of Farmington, Maine, turned in the fast time in the Busch pole competition at 16.482 seconds. Prior to qualifying, veteran driver Bobby Dragon of Milton, Vermont, was named as full-time second driver for the Henry Shaw Budweiser All-Pro team to join Dale Shaw. In the qualifying heats, point leader Dana Patton battled Dale Shaw for the victory in heat number 1. In heat number 2, local favorite Billy Clark of Farmington, Maine, won by a wide margin. Veteran Mike Rowe of Turner, Maine, won heat number 3 in the O'Connor GMC car number 15. Greg Lassard held off 1987 Busch champion Joey Carafas for the victory in heat number 4. Pete Silva of Waterville, Maine, joined the field as winner of the consolation race. In the Buick 100, 34 qualifiers formed the starting grid for the frozen spectators. Dana Patton started from the pole position. Billy Clark took the early lead and led until lap 11 when Dale Shaw of Conway, New Hampshire put the Budweiser Pontiac into the lead. On lap 13, 1988 Busch champ Jamie Obey was caught in a multi-car tangle. On the restart, Clark led for 1 lap, but Dale Shaw took over as further back in the pack, Jamie Obey battled frantically toward the front. On lap 34, 1988 Oxford 250 winner Dick McCabe caught Dale Shaw in lap traffic. McCabe took over as leader with Mike Rowe second, Billy Clark third, and Dale Shaw moving back into 4th place. 10 laps later, Mike Rowe took over the lead until lap 55. Rookie Dean Crystal held up Rowe. Dick McCabe took advantage and regained the lead. Dave Davis and Bruce Haley came together on lap 59. They spun wildly without bringing out a yellow flag. Up in front, Dick McCabe continued to dominate, with Pete Silva challenging. With 18 laps remaining, Greg Lassard and rookie Mike Olson came together. The top 5 runners got through the melee, but Dale Shaw was unable to avoid the debris, and that ended his run for the day. At the restart, McCabe took charge. For the final 10 laps, Jamie Obey of North Pearisburg, Vermont, badgered McCabe for the lead. At the checkered flag, Dick McCabe held on to win the Buick 100 in a Buick automobile. Jamie Obey was second, also in a Buick. Mike Rowe was third in a Pontiac, followed by Skull Bandit Billy Clark and Pete Silva.
Dick, an awful cold day, but your car was running great for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have given it a shot in the dark. We made a last-minute change, crew and I did, and it was just enough to get us by. We weren't what you call really laying over the field by any means, but we got the job done, and that's all that matters.
Was the weather any kind of a problem either for the tires or for yourself?
No, just a problem like it was for everybody else, being kind of uncomfortable.
Before the start of the race, you said this is no kind of weather to race in. It's not good for the engines or anything like that. You feel a little different about that now?
It's just as hard on them when you start them cold. We're just lucky enough to get through it.
Okay, Jamie Obey put tremendous pressure on you the last 10 laps, and how exactly did you hold him off?
I just went my own pace. I wasn't going to let him intimidate me. It's a long way around here. The outside wasn't that great. I was getting around the bottom so-so, getting off pretty good, so I says he's going to have to work.
You're used to running with him quite a lot, so is it a little easier to run with somebody you know pretty well and you can expect what he's going to do?
Position I was in didn't make much difference. I was right down on the bottom, going my own speed. If, you know, I wasn't much I was going to do. I had a lot of fun running up front with the different guys. I like that. That's what makes it interesting to me.
A large crowd of hardy fans braved brisk winds and unseasonably cold weather to view event number 2 of the 1989 Coors Tour, the Norseman Resorts 200. In the AccuTrack Speed Trials, veteran Jeff Stevens of Kennebunk, Maine, turned a fast time of 15.452 seconds on the cold 1/3 mile oval. Rick Craven of Gardner, Maine, captured the Castle Chemicals Clean Car Award. In all, 52 Coors Tour racers attempted to qualify for the Norseman Resorts 200. In heat number 1, Jack Bateman of Lebanon, New Hampshire, led wire to wire for the victory. David Boss Hogg St. Clair of Liberty, Maine, won heat number 2. Heat number 3 went to Jeff Stevens of Kennebunk, Maine. And local driver Danny Pullen was winner in heat number 4. Rick Craven and Dick Belisle won the consolation events. In the B feature, Bob Ramsdell took a hard trip into the 4-turn retaining wall. Ramsdell's car was destroyed. He was not injured. In the Norseman Resort 200, Blair Bassett of Hudson, New Hampshire, started on the pole. Bob Ailes in car number 25 was the early leader, and the 36-car field completed 31 green flag laps before caution came out for Rick Craven, Mike Mayetta, and Paul Johnson. On lap 46, local driver Mike Johnson took over the lead. Johnson led through lap 64 when Dave Dion put the Berlin City Ford Thunderbird into the lead. Dion continued to lead. Caution came out on lap 77 for a spin involving Dan Beatty and Claude Leclerc. Jeff Stevens took advantage of the caution to install fresh rubber. On lap 92, 1987 Norseman Resorts 200 winner Jean-Paul Cabana challenged Dion unsuccessfully for the lead. At the halfway point, it was Dion, Rick Craven, Jean-Paul Cabana, and Ralph Nason. On lap 103, Craven and Dion bumped, but Dion was able to hold on until lap 118 when Craven pulled under Dion in heavy traffic. On lap 140, defending Norseman 200 champion Russ Erlin muscled his way into second place. On lap 150, Dion and Erlin bumped, leaving Dion in second, Bobby Crouch in third, and Erlin in fourth. They continued to battle until lap 190, when caution came out for Dave Dion and Danny Pullen, and the unthinkable happened. Leader Rick Craven slowed for the yellow flag and had the fiberglass body of his Buick demolished by the 53 car of Dan Beatty. Beatty did not see the yellow flag. Robbie Crouch inherited the lead, but then spun on the restart, leaving Russ Erlin to sprint the final 5 laps for his second consecutive Norseman Resorts 200 victory. Ralph Nason was second in his Chrysler. Jean-Paul Cabana recovered for third. Kevin LePage was fourth, and Rick Craven was fifth. Russ, I told you in the starting lineup I'd see you in victory lane. Did you think you were going to repeat?
You know, when you said that, I got in the car and I got thinking, geez, I wonder if I could ever do this again 2 years in a row. I only won 3 races last year, and I'm really pleased to win this one 2 years in a row, and maybe I can go back next year and do it again.
How about the rough stuff during the last 30 laps of the race? How did you stay out of that?
Well, this track is really difficult to run, especially with the sun coming down in that number 1 corner. That's how Ricky Craven got that last late wreck. You just can't see anything, and I got sprayed with oil early in the race on my windshield, and I just couldn't see, and I had to be following somebody in order to run fast, and that's why when Paul got by me, I just stayed behind him for the last few laps. It's really difficult. It's close racing, and I touched a couple guys. They got me back. Payback's the son of a gun, I guess, but it turned out good for me, and I continued on.
Do you think you're geared for a Coors Tour championship this year? You were Rookie of the Year last year.
Well, I guess we had our hopes pretty high last year, doing the best we could. We accomplished the rookie and second overall. And the only thing to shoot from once you get a second is go for the lead, and the lead is the number 1 spot. And we're going to give it an all-out effort for this entire year, and I hope we're the champion at the end of the year.
On Victory Lane at the Coors Tour Norseman Resorts 200 for Race Week, I'm Dan Wolf reporting.
Thanks, Dan, for another great job covering full-bodied racing from the Oxford Plains Speedway and the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. Well, next we're going to be taking another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour from the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia.
Sprint, Midget, and Super Modified fans, here's a great deal on the magazine for you, Open Wheel. For only $14.97, you'll get a full year. That's $20 off newsstand prices. Plus, you'll get these free racing decals with your paid subscription. Old-time stories, technical articles, and what's hot in today's fastest cars. Read about the drivers. Call 1-800-453-7800 now for Open Wheel and get your free racing decals. Have credit card ready. 1-800-453-7800. Open Wheel Magazine.
Bowling. It's the hottest participation sport in the country today. Now you can discover the challenge and excitement of bowling with this special home video, Let's Bowl with Dick Weber. Two-time Bowling Hall of Famer Dick Weber shows you all the moves and gives you step-by-step instruction on everything from stance, approach, delivery, and follow-through. You'll also get great tips on aiming, improving your form, and much, much more.
Your delivery depends on the position of your hand, the way your wrists and fingers are at the time of release.
So whether you're a beginner or a pro, be sure to get your copy of Let's Bowl with Dick Weber today. And if you order right now, you can buy a second copy at half price. You heard that right. A second copy for only $9.95. So use your credit card and call the number on your screen. Improve your average and be the star of your league. Order now and get your copy of Let's Bowl with Dick Weber while supplies last.
It was a cold but sunny afternoon for the opening event at the London Waterford Speed Bowl. But now it's time to take a look at racing Southern style on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour as they venture to the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. It was the first national televised event for the Modifieds, the Raven Boats 150 from the Martinsville Speedway. All the best of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour was assembled. Row number 1, it would be Jeff Fuller in Art Berry's number 21. Mighty Mike Stefanik in the Gazella number 16. In rows of 2, they were set to go the distance. Second row on the inside, Ricky Fuller, and outside of him, Reggie Ruggiero with car number 44. Down to the wire they'd come, and Jeff Fuller would take advantage of the start, and he would start to pull away. Mike Stefanik would tuck it in down low as Reggie Ruggiero was already starting to work the outside. Then Stefanik would dive to the inside lane to try to take over the number 1 spot. 4 cars tightly patched as they come back to the line. It was Stefanik still in command of the event with car 16. Then the battle was for 3rd and 4th. Reggie Ruggiero would tuck it down low as Gianliti would develop a problem and head to the pit area with car number 25. It was Ruggiero down beneath Ricky Fuller. He would pick up the spot. Ruggiero was on his way to the front of the pack when NASCAR Modified Tour champion Mike McLaughlin would show some life. He would move down to the inside as Tony Hirschman would move in. Mikey Winitzko would spin with a Raven Boat number 36. Jeff Fuller was involved and contact was made as a tire was caught on Jeff Fuller's number 21. Mikey Winitzko would try to get back to the pit area with car number 36. But for Jeff Fuller, it would appear that his day would be over with the Art Berry number 21. Back to green flag racing, Mike Stefanik would dive underneath the lapped automobile Wayne Anderson. Then suddenly Anderson would slam the door on Reggie Ruggiero. Jim Spencer was also running strong with car number 07, the car that he won at North Wilkesboro with. Then suddenly Jamie DeMano and Tom Baldwin would come together as DeMano's car would set on the racetrack severely damaged. Car number 99 was definitely out of the event. Back up front, drag race off turn number 4. It was Mike Stefanik still setting the pace. Now a new challenge among the top 5. Brian Ross would put some pressure on Mike McLaughlin, defending champion of the Tour. But it was Mike Stefanik to run with ease to the checker with car number 16. But the real battle was still for 4th and 5th as Ross would work to the inside, but McLaughlin would manage to pick up the spot. The winner of the Raven Boat 150 was Mike Stefanik. Reggie Ruggiero in for 2nd. Tony Hirschman was 3rd. 4th, Mike McLaughlin, and 5th was Brian Ross.
No, it wasn't as easy as it looks. When Reggie's behind you, nothing's easy. He's a really good competitor, and he run right on our bumper the whole race.
Now, before the start of the event, Dr. Jerry Punch reported that up front here you had a new type of fan on the car and that it was actually beating up against the fiberglass on the hood. Were you at all concerned about that?
Well, we run the small fan. We had no fan in warm-ups. We put the big one on for the race, Jackie. And we had a new radiator in the car, and we have a little adjustment there, and it just wasn't adjusted quite right. It's the first time it's been on, was race, right before the race.
And now, a couple of weeks ago, you were on your roof at Thompson. You come back and you win the race here. This is not the first time that you've had that happen to you.
I know it happened last year at Oswego. We rolled it, came back, and won the 300. That's a terrible way to have to get a win the next time out, but I like the wins. I don't like the flip.
Motor ran hot most of the race. I'd back off like 3-4 car lengths, try to let it cool off. It would cool down to probably 200, 210, and I'd go back racing again. The last probably 20 laps of this race, temperature was pegged. It was really slowing down going on straight. It was smoking a little.
On Saturday night, NASCAR modified competition resumed at Riverside Park Speedway. It was the 9 of Diamonds of Jerry Pearl to the inside of Ricky Summers. Ed Kennedy, row number 2, and Jerry Marquis to the outside row. Jerry Pearl would quickly jump out into the lead with car number 9. He'd set the pace. The battle was on for second as Ed Kennedy would dive down low as Ricky Summers would try to work the outside groove. Kennedy would bobble just a bit. Setting up things in the outside lane, Dan Avery was involved, and so wasn't Brad Hietala with car number 54. Avery's car suffered the worst of damage as Jerry Marquis and Bob Povereri, the 4-time champ, would head back to the pits. Off the turn, new challenge would develop. It was Chris Kopak to the inside to try to take over the lead, and he would. Chris Kopak would set out in front. Then Stan Greger would work his way down underneath Kopak to take over position number 1. Bruce D'Alessandro had already worked his way up to the number 2 spot. D'Alessandro was on his way to the front, and so wasn't John Zavisa. Zavisa was now up to position number 3. The story was heavy traffic, but Stan Greger would secure the victory. In for second was Bruce D'Alessandro. John Zavisa was third. Ricky Summers was fourth, and Chris Kopak would round out the top 5. The late model Pro Stock division, Rob Valletta to the inside of Teddy Hebert. Teddy Hebert would quickly take over the number 1 spot as Steve Kelly would work his way to the outside, then get caught up as Dave Caruso would pick up the spot. It was then a challenge at the front of the field as Ted Hebert was pressured heavily by Chris Kopak to the inside. Dave Caruso was waiting in the wings. Further back in the pack, Ronnie LaPerche and Tony Membrino would come together. LaPerche would cut a tire, and then Rob Valletta would go around with car number 66. Tony Membrino would come and make contact, and so wouldn't Blaine Bells. But it was Dave Caruso to secure the victory with car number 1X. In for second was Chris Kopak over Tom Rosati in third. Mark Farina was fourth, and Jerry Marquis would finish in the 5th spot. In the late model street stock 50-lap feature, Kevin Zarnecki would work his way to the front of the field and set the pace. Danny Faraci was moving in and trying to challenge middle of the pack. Joe Scata was coming to life, and Ted Chalmers was looking strong. Tommy Fern, defending champion, get crossed up early in the event with car number 92. Mike Duquette would get locked together with Fern, but it would be Kevin Zarnecki to take down the win. Danny Faraci in for second. G. Perry was third. Tom Carey was fourth, and Gary Pelletier would finish in the 5th spot. Next, we're going to be taking a sneak preview of what's in store for 1989 for the SM LaRusso NEMA Midgets, as Chris Romano will file this report.
Thanks, Ben. As we could tell from last week's show, the 1988 Northeastern Midget Association SM LaRusso and Sons Midget Tour was a wild and woolly one. This year promises to be the same, and the action begins this weekend at the Star and Lee Speedways. Major stories coming out of NEMA for 1989 will be the restriction of the Badger-type automobiles. Probable 1989 winners will be the defending champion, Drew Fenora, winner of 7 races last year. Look for Drew to debut a new Pontiac-powered upright car in 1989. Race Week will have all the action for you. At least 16 out of 18 races on the NEMA Tour will be covered by Race Week, and tune in next week for the opening events at Star and Lee Speedway. Back to you, Ben.
That's going to kind of wrap things up for another edition of Race Week. We hope you've enjoyed all the excitement from this past week. Another exciting round of great competition. Well, in the next edition of Race Week, we'll be taking a look at more great racing action from the opening day festivities from Monadnock Motor Raceway. We'll also be taking a look at the excitement from the Super Modified at Lee USA, and a look at midget racing action on the SM LaRusso Tour. Combine that with more great short track racing from Riverside Park, and you've got the next edition of Race Week. Until then, we say take care, and we'll see you again next time for more of the best in New England motorsports coverage right here with us on Race Week.